All right, Siman Reish Tesvav. Shaleilis kashis ala meis yosim midai. You shouldn't to meaning basically don't make it more difficult on yourself than what the Chacham say. Uboy Gimel Sifim. Saying miskashan ala meis yosim midai. You cannot do too much mourning. Shenemar al tivchu lemeis val tenuduloi. Don't cry for the mace and don't shake your head for him. Can you say that? A person shouldn't cry for a mace? Ela al tivchu lemeis, what does it mean? Yosem midai. Means don't cry more than what you're supposed to. Val tenuduloi yosem mikashir. And don't do more than a shir. Haketzad gimel yom lebechia. The first 3 days is for crying. Zayin lehesped, 7 days for hesped, u'shloishim legiyutz with the spirus, and 30 days for haircuts and cleaning the clothing. Mikan ve'elach amar kadosh baruch hu iatam reshoyim l'rachem elav yosem mimeni. You're not allowed to have any more rachmanas on him than me. Right? Okay, so that's shloishim. Except so that's for any mace, it's really shloishim. For parents, because of kibbut avayim, that's why for parents you keep another for the 12 months. But that's a kibbut avayim thing, not really a mourning. I mean, it's called avelus, but it's really al kibbut avayim. Anybody who what? Anybody who does more than he's supposed to, al mace acher hu baicha, he's going to end up crying on another mace. But that's by other people. But a Talmud Chacham, meaning if there's you can have mourning on a Talmud Chacham for more than the norm. But no crying on him more than 30 days. The loy adif mi Moshe Rabbeinu olav shalom is not any better than Moshe Rabbeinu. Dichsiv by vayivchu es Moshe shloishim yom, and they cried for Moshe for 30 days. Fine. Amar Rav Seno Zal. Echam imnei mishpacha shemeis. If somebody in the family dies, yidagu kol mishpacha, then the entire family should be scared because they are at risk. Meaning, there's something called mazel, right? And what's one of the things that the Mefarshim say, that during the year of Avelus, it's a bad mazel year. Same thing for Yartzeit. It's a mashal ma'adav. I mean, what's in mashal? Well, this lekipa shalavonim. If you have an archway of stones, once you shake one of those stones, and then that arch is risking falling down. The midas hadin is spread out in front of them until it gets loosened. Ki kol shiva, because the entire 7 days of cherif shlufa, the sword is drawn against the person. Vad lamed he refefes, and until 30 days, it's moving around. And it doesn't go back into its place. The sword does not go back into its sheath until 12 months. For the first 3 days, Yira ha'avel ki'ilu cherem unachas le'bein ksefav. The avel should look as if there's a sword in between the shoulders. Mishloishav ad shiva ki'ilu zakif kenegdoi b'karen zavis. He should be as if it's standing and against him in the corner. Mishiva ad shloishim, from 7 until 30 kilo everes lefanav b'shuk. It's as if it passes in front of him in the street. That year is a bad luck year for the mishpacha. Ben zachar, but if there's a baby boy born, right, Naftali? If there's a baby born, nisrapa kol mishpacha, then that heals the entire mishpacha. But dafka zachar, why? The zachar bala olam, shalom bala olam. When a male comes into the world, peace comes into the world. And whatever that means. Peretz probably has his own pirush that men are more peaceful than ladies, right? And the same thing, when if one of the chabura dies, midas adin mesucha kenega kol chabura, then there's midas adin on the whole chabura v'yidagu kulam, and everybody's got to be scared. Gimel kol she'ena misabel k'moshe tziva chachamim. Anybody who this is so the first two is saying that don't overdo it. Gimel is saying don't underdo it either. Anybody who's not misabel the way the chachamim said hareza achser, then he's considered a achser. He's considered cruel. Elayor mishnasa, he should get up from his sleep. V'yifchad v'yidag v'yifasher shemaisav, like we're supposed to be doing during El. V'yachser b'tshuva, you got to do tshuva. Ulay yinotzim echarbe shamalach hamavis, perhaps he'll get saved from the sword of the malach hamavis. This is the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch going with what he said before. Oh no, that's the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch says that one of the reasons why there's avelus is because if you'd be a good guy, then your family member wouldn't have died. Right? It's a very scary thing. But if you would have been good enough, you would have been able to save that family member. Harehu Aimer, Hikisa Aisam V'loy Chalu. Michlal Shetzarach Lahakitz V'lacha V'lachser B'tshuva. And you see that your person just has to wake up to do tshuva. Siman Reish Tez Zayin. Actually, I once heard, I just reminded myself of this. Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich from Yerushalayim said a gewaldige mashal. He said a mashal where there's two different people that get shaken. You have a baby and you have an adult. When you want to put a baby to sleep, so what do? You shake him. You shake him till, for whatever reason, the shaking puts him to sleep. An adult, you shake him and he wakes up, and he gets how you wake up an adult with the shaking. So if you're a baby and the shaking happens and you just go back to sleep, so that means you're a baby. You're not realizing what Hashem is doing to you, right? But if you're an adult and you get shook and you realize, 1 second, why am I shaking? I better get my act together, right? Fine. Siman Reish Tazayin din mixas yom shvi mixas yom shleishim v'din yud beis chaydish, because we know there's something called mixas yom kekula. That's why on the 7th day of Shiva, they don't sit a whole day. They sit for a minute or two, then they get up. And the same thing applies to Shloshim, but we're going to see it does not apply to the year of Avelus. Let's see. B'yom HaShvi, on the 7th day of Shiva, l'achar she'ochel Menachem min ha'ovel, after the Menachemim leave the Ovel's house, mutter b'chol ha'dvarim she'ya aser toich Shiva, it is mutter with all the things that are aser toich Shiva. Damrina miktzas yom kekulai, chutz mitasha shamita, except for relations. She'aser kol hayom, it's aser to have relations that whole day. Afilu b'vayasafel, even if you go in a dark room. Right? So I'm not sure. I don't remember why it is that relations is more strict than all the other things. And in these communities where it's not normally people don't come to be Menachem Ovel on the 7th day. You have to wait until whatever hour people come during the other days of Shiva. It's usually after leaving Shul. That's when Menachemim come. If Shiva falls on a Shabbos, after leaving the Beis HaKnesses Shachris, Mutar b'Talmud Torah, then you're allowed to start learning. Now, there's a whole procedure that the Maisa that we do is somebody should be Menachem Ovel in the morning. From the Kitzur, it's just mashma, the guy just gets up from the Shiva and finish. And what's normally done is that some people do say Hamakam to them, and then they tell them, get up. And then you have the whole walking around the block and all that, which is really, if you see the Kitzur doesn't even discuss it. So that whole thing is very much overrated.
What is it? It's a minute?
There's no real source even for it. It's a strange thing. Some what they do, some say they go directly from sitting Shiva, they go straight to the cemetery to accompany the neshama back to the cemetery. That some do.
No, what was interesting? It was interesting. When I was sitting, I didn't do it, right? But when my father was sitting for my grandmother, the Rav told him to do it. But when I was sitting for my father, the Rav said, no, you don't have to do it. So I was expecting him to say yes, but it didn't make sense.
What do you mean? You don't have to what?
I didn't do the walk.
You didn't do the walk.
I did not do the walk.
Okay, there you go. Now you learned that you didn't do anything wrong. Too bad. Right?
Yeah, I wanted to.
I know, you're on that little rebel in you.
Probably just comes from stretching your feet.
That could be too. Maybe that's where, maybe. Because then people ask on Shabbos morning, should they take the walk? Should they not take the walk? Right? Um, anyway, fine. Beis b'yoyim shloishim on the 30th day. Amrinon gamkein mixas yom kakuloi. We say also mixas yom kakuloi. Right? Vakivan shaz ain't by menachemim, and since there's nobody coming, nobody coming to be menachem oval on the shloishim, right? So lechein tekev kesheton etzachama. Therefore, right when the beginning, the day when there's netzachama, that's when the shloishim restrictions are over. So batam imenu gzeira shloishim. That's when the gzeira shloishim is over. Meaning then you could take hot showers, you can laundry you're allowed to do, you can wear fresh clothing. Right? Chol yom shloshim b'Shabbos. If the 30th day falls on Shabbos, mutar lo lirchotz b'erev Shabbos b'chamin l'kavod Shabbos. You're allowed to wash for Friday. You're allowed to wash regular hot water. The loyvish big day Shabbos. You can wear big day Shabbos. Chayzel mekami beis haknesses, and you can go back to your place in beis haknesses. Aval also b'giluach, but you're not allowed to take haircuts, as we learned. The haircuts do not become mutar after shloshim. You have to wait until somebody tells you that you need the haircut. But on the last day of Shiva, for a mother and a father, then we don't say mixes yom kekula va'adarabba. Noying lahoisif gam yom yortzeit linig by called in Yud Beis Chodesh. We know that on a yortzeit you have the din of Yud Beis Chodesh. There's avelos on the yortzeit, meaning this is a very common question. People have weddings on yortzeit, so what do? They really can't go to the wedding. Vafilu chol b'Shabbos, even if it falls on Shabbos. Achim hoisa shana muberes, but if it's a leap year, gam kenei noigim avelos, then he's not noyeg avelus. That's only you only keep for 12 months. You don't keep for the leap year. And since the 12 months is over, before the yartzeit, he doesn't go back to avelus, but meaning he doesn't go back to pure avelus, but there is still the basic avelus of him not going to the weddings or Shabbat brachas or things like that. Okay, we will stop there. Everybody should have a fine night. Sudas Tovus.